And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, California Senator Adam Schiff
at the end of the day
has just announced who he is endorsing in the California's governor's race, and it's not Katie Porter.
I call it the Schiff gift.
Big surprise there.
He likes Swalwell.
Of course. Birds of a feather. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, it's not just the governor's seat that's up in California this year. So is the seat belonging to the mayor of Los Angeles. And Randy, she has yet another competitor in that race, and this one's a former ally.
Nithya Raman of the LA City Council, a DSA member, announced on Saturday morning that she is running for mayor. She had endorsed Karen Bass just a few weeks ago, but decided Saturday morning to show up, put in the paperwork, and this wasn't even that well organized because it's not like she held a press conference. The news cameras got word of what was happening. They were waiting outside, and so she had a few things to say. Here is LA City Councilwoman and potential mayoral candidate, Nithya Raman.
We can't seem to manage the basics. And while everyone agrees we need more housing, the city still struggles to lead with urgency.
Struggles?
So wait a minute. So the city is in crisis because of poor management, and she thinks a socialist is going to be the one that rights the ship?
Well, and to specifically talk about housing, one of the things that has logjammed and made it so impossible to build new housing, including apartment buildings in the city of Los Angeles, is Measure ULA, which Nithya Raman was one of the loudest proponents of and was actively defending it.
Building too little, too slowly, while working families get priced out over and over again. This is a city that is cutting capacity while hoping that outcomes will somehow improve. We're asking residents to accept less while paying more and calling that normal. It isn't.
Wait, isn't she the one that won't respond to anyone's phone calls in her district when there's a homeless encampment that goes up next to a school or a business?
It's real rich when she is one of the prominent members of the government, and LA is structured in a way that it is a weak mayor and a strong city council. So her indicting all the failures of the city is somewhat indicting all of her own failures. But sure, go ahead and run.
Los Angeles needs a mayor who is going to take responsibility for the whole system, who is going to demand accountability across departments, who is going to prepare for emergencies before they happen.
That was a shot at Bass.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not a namsy-pamsy thing.
Who's going to communicate honestly
Don't know about that one.
when things go wrong and fix what fails. Los Angeles needs a mayor who will fight for more housing, for more affordability. This is the only way that we're going to keep this a city of opportunity. We need a mayor who is determined to pave our streets and keep us safe and keep the streetlights on.
Wait a minute. She's the one that just proposed a tax to fix the street lights because she doesn't want to take the people who are stealing the copper wire and throw them in jail.
Well, we can't do that.
You know, let's criminalize catalytic converters. Let's criminalize copper.
What's going to happen with all of the DSA people that have already endorsed Karen Bass? Are they going to unendorse?
Oh, my guess is yes, because she was one of them before she became a competitor.
This is a city of extraordinary possibility. Extraordinary. But possibility only matters if our leadership is accountable for delivering it. And I'm ready to lead this city with seriousness, accountability, urgency.
You can say accountability all you want. What is the record that she is running on? The places where she is in charge of are notably worse than they were before she knocked out David Rue.
Well, just take her out of it for a second. Give me an example in the history of the globe where a socialist has been put in charge of anything and they increase the efficiency.
Accountability, urgency, and ambition that is equal to this moment. Thank you.
Councilmember, did you read the report recently about Mayor Bass's potential involvement in watering down the after-action report on the Palisades fire? If so, how did that affect your decision to run for mayor?
She smelled blood in the water after that story.
Oh, yeah. After that story came out, the mayor looked beatable.
I think that the Palisades fire and everything surrounding that moment requires openness, honesty, and accountability to the public. And I think the report that I read was the series of many instances where the city hasn't delivered that for the public. And it's not just on that issue, although that was the most...
And keep in mind, she is the type of person who wanted those homeowners out to begin with. She wants high-density housing. She sees single-family homes as the enemy. She sees people driving their own cars to work as the enemy. The result that they're getting in the Pacific Palisades may be the result of just incompetence and not maliciousness, but that's the direction that she wants to move the city in.
Dramatic, the most impactful that we've had in so long, the biggest disaster that we've faced. But I think we need to do that on the fire and on everything else that we're responsible for.
What are your concerns about Inside Safe, the mayor's signature program?
I believe in encampment resolution. That's how Inside Safe works. You go to an encampment, you offer housing and services.
And then you keep them in a Motel 6 forever.
And they still hang out in the encampment because that's where all the drugs and the fun are.
With dignity and with honesty to everyone there, and people are able to move indoors and entire encampments can come in. We've done that in my district over and over again, both before Inside Safe existed and afterwards.
Okay, talk to anyone who lives there. If you're going to use your district as the example as to how to handle homelessness, we're doomed.
Encampment resolution is an important intervention, but we need to make sure that the costs are appropriate for the city. There are ways to reduce the cost to make this a program that is fiscally sustainable and that is part of our homelessness response.
I'm going to do the exact same thing Karen Bass is, but find a way to make it cheaper.
Well, she's worse because she doesn't want to bust up any of the encampments. Bass just takes forever and wants to spend a bunch of money doing it. But if you push her far enough, she will say, yes, those encampments cannot be there forever. Raman believes those encampments have every right to be there as long as they want to.
And one thing that Karen Bass's campaign manager put out as a press release when Nithya announced she was running on Saturday was, and I'm paraphrasing this, the last thing LA needs is a politician that has refused to clean up homeless encampments.
No, she wants more encampments. Imagine that.
You consider Mayor Bassett once your ally, but what kind of change your mind, and why wait till the 11th hour to make this announcement public?
Yeah, yes, Mayor Bassett.
Yeah, why didn't you do the tease like Caruso or Horvath where you were dangling this over our head for weeks?
I don't even think anyone was speaking of her as a potential candidate, in part because she did endorse Bass.
Yeah, yes, Mayor Bass is someone I have deep, deep respect for.
No, you don't.
Not even a little bit.
She and I share so many values about what matters for Los Angeles, what matters right now. And
this is a really, really weird way to launch a campaign against somebody.
Well, she doesn't want to come across as looking like someone who is a climber, like she's willing to step on Karen Bass's neck simply for the reason that Karen Bass now looks vulnerable after the fire report story broke.
And we've worked together successfully on many of those things. But I do feel like Angelenos have really given us a lot of faith, voted for more taxes to address affordable housing issues.
Yeah, that's on us.
Yeah. Los Angeles, no more.
Address homelessness.
How's that worked out?
More people living on the streets, of course, which from her point of view is success.
To address some of our biggest crises, and if we don't show results to them, I think we will lose them. And I want to deliver a government that is going to be truly accountable to the people.
That is the 20th time she said accountable in this little gaggle.
It's like Gavin Newsom. Just because you use the word doesn't mean there's any accountability at all. In fact, you have demonstrated since being elected to office that accountability is the last thing you actually want.
Accountability, accountability, accountability.
And really lift up the values that Angelenos hold dear.
Have you spoken to the mayor about your decision?
I have spoken to the mayor.
Well, what do you think that call was like?
Lots of F-bombs.
Tell us about that conversation.
Sure. I have a strong and close relationship with the mayor
Not anymore.
That's in the past.
that I built over her last years in office, and I would prefer to maintain that privacy right now, but I have spoken to her.
How's middle class? How about middle class? How can you help the middle class?
I think that middle class here in Los Angeles is also facing so much of these affordability issues.
Whose fault is that?
Nithya, any guesses?
Housing is the biggest driver of costs in this city, and we can do more to get housing costs down.
By the way, since Trump started deporting all the illegal aliens, did you see the story in the LA Times where rents are now falling in Los Angeles for the first time in forever?
I also want to say that we are asking more for services because of poor fiscal accountability at the city. We are making decisions about our budget that are based on political calculations as opposed to what is best for Angelenos and what is best for Los Angeles.
Okay, what I think she means by this is that Bass won't defund the police department. Bass won't defund the fire department, because if you think about it from the point of view of a socialist, well, why are we spending money to protect single-family homes? We should be spending that money on the homeless or the illegals or the criminals or the fill-in-the-blanks. That's what she means.
Middle class, I think that can change. We can make this better. We can deliver good services, and we shouldn't have to ask so much of our residents.
Councilmember, you're describing sort of a building to a breaking point. But as recently as less than 2 weeks ago, the Bass campaign had rolled out your endorsement for the mayor. So I'm just wondering, can you tell us how long you've been considering this run? It feels very sort of 11th hour to us.
Did you just wake up that day and say, you know what? I'm going to run for mayor?
No, what happened is she decided that she could win. She never saw a path before, but she sees a path now.
Well, that was what Horvath was saying when she was teasing everybody. She said, I'm thinking about running because I know I'd win.
But the difference is Horvath is just another hack partisan Democrat. You already have a hack partisan Democrat as the incumbent. Why do you need a new one in the race? With Raman, she is a self-described out-of-the-closet socialist. So that allows left-wing LA voters, which is a majority, to indulge themselves and to give themselves everything that they want and more.
Yes, I think a lot about this race has been surprising. And I think, like many of you, I was watching and waiting to see what would happen in the mayor's race, and also to see how the mayor would talk about the challenges that we were facing ahead of us. At this moment, I feel really strongly that I want to talk about those challenges. I feel strongly about them. I feel strongly about the ways in which I think that this city can get better. And I want to talk about them while campaigning for the mayor, the mayoralty.
Karen Bass,
Yes, sorry.
We work for her. What problem do you think Mayor Bass is not doing well that you would
Simple question, if you couldn't hear it. What is Karen Bass not doing well that you think you could do better?
Good question.
I think we're making some progress on some issues like the homelessness crisis. We're reducing street homelessness.
Fact check.
Not true.
We're doing some things right, but on so many of the other issues that matter for Angelenos on an everyday basis, keeping our streetlights on, for example.
She wants a tax increase for that because she doesn't want to put anyone in jail for stealing the copper wire.
Right now, thousands of streetlights are out across the city of Los Angeles. It can take a year to repair a streetlight right now. A year. That is an unacceptably long amount of time. And I think this city can do the big things. We can solve our housing crisis. We can solve our homelessness crisis. And we can also deliver on things that matter on an everyday basis for Angelenos. And I think that we...
By the way, if you were running on that platform that I want to run for mayor because all the street lights are out, it's really hard to believe her when she currently could do something about that on the city council.
Okay, hearing her in real time answer these questions makes it very clear this was something that popped up at the last minute. This is not something that she has thought through. This is ambition. This is someone who sees Karen Bass as being uniquely vulnerable Maybe it had to do with Rick Caruso taking a pass. Maybe it had to do with Lindsay Horvath taking a pass. Maybe it has to do with a Republican now being in the race. I don't know what it was, but clearly maybe it was just the fire report in the LA Times. Some event happened. Something happened that led her to believe that if she were to jump in, she would win. That's what changed.
We can do that.
Councilor Boyd, I know most Angelinos would agree with what you've outlined. The question is, what do you tell them? How do you convince the voters that you will be a different mayor for LA?
You know, I think I have operated both in my district and in the council on results.
What results?
What kind of drugs does she think that we're on?
Well, it's LA. A lot of voters are high.
That's true.
I have been an independent vote on the council. I've been an extraordinarily hard worker.
An independent vote on the council? You vote in lockstep with all the other socialists.
Yeah, but that's the independent voice.
Oh, yes, because they're different from the Democratic Party, per se.
Well, she wants to defund the police. She has voted to defund the police.
She has.
I've been an extraordinarily hard worker for my district. When people bring us...
Yes, you've worked so hard that you won't take calls from any of your constituents.
When people bring us issues, we are relentless in addressing them. We are persistent, we are patient, but we are relentless.
I know a few business owners in Sherman Oaks that would dispute that.
No, she is talking about the agitators in the streets. She is talking about the left-wing organized crowd in that district. Because the homeowners that we talk to, the business owners that we talk to, they say the exact opposite.
That is what Los Angeles needs right now. I bring that work ethic, I bring that focus, I bring that hard work, and I bring an understanding of what needs to change at City Hall in order to fix these issues.
What do you see as your coalition?
I think that I ran and won 2 elections for Council District 4 with the support of renters, with the support of many, many progressive renters and homeowners,
She's going to run on banning evictions again. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. She recognizes her coalition. And the city demographically keeps moving in her direction every day that goes by.
With, I think, an array of progressive organizations, as well as a number of people, particularly in my second election, who felt like we delivered for them. And I think that...
Is she getting sirened at her own launch?
You can't have a press conference outdoors in Los Angeles without that happening.
Who felt like we delivered for them. And I think that's the coalition that I hope to bring with me back into City Hall onto a different floor is really...
Are you going to protect women's safety about, the trans men going into women's locker rooms and harassing us? Are you going to protect us from that?
That's a question.
Oh, that's our buddy. That's Tish.
I'm very focused on women's safety. Yes.
Do you know what a woman is?
Thank you.
Do you know what a woman is?
All right, we'll take a break. We'll have more of LA Councilwoman Nithya Raman fielding questions just as she announced that she would be running for mayor of Los Angeles against one-time ally Karen Bass. Nithya Raman, of course, a self-described Democratic Socialist of America. 800-222-5222 is a telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go back to socialist candidate for mayor in Los Angeles, Nithya Raman.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question was, are you going to get the endorsement of the DSA or any of these other groups?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I have not had those conversations yet. My understanding is that their process has moved forward and they've already made their endorsements. But I didn't...
She's getting heckled now.
She better get used to it.
And she kept saying, word salad, word salad.
And they've already made their endorsements. But I didn't... I will say I did make this decision fairly late.
Like 2 days ago.
I'll say that's late.
And so I have...
Like, she probably doesn't even have a campaign manager.
No. No, she hasn't done any of the things that people typically do before they run for a big office like this.
And so I have not actually given those kinds of questions about endorsements much thought yet, and I'm happy to update you when I have. I do want to also say that I'm aware that I probably will not get most of the traditional endorsements that people are seeking. It's very late in the process to get in the game. I wasn't outside.
I mean, the endorsement season was last month, including when she endorsed Karen Bass.
Oh, yeah.
I was an outsider when I first ran, and I think I'll be an outsider in this race. And I'm okay with that.
Do you see any parallels between your candidacy and the candidate who ended up winning for mayor in New York?
Are you the LA mom, Donnie?
Oh, she hopes so.
Absolutely. There's a lot of similarities between us.
I need some help on this. Shangi, I know you're not busy right now. Can you help us? We'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of similarities between us.
Thanks, Shangi.
Boy, we're lucky that it doesn't snow here.
I would say that I came to this decision through a very different pathway. I considered it for a long time. I'm a really dedicated mother, devoted mother to my twin 10-year-olds. And so I didn't come to this easily. My focus in this race has really been to serve the city of Los Angeles. I love this city. I love the city so much.
That just sounds phony.
Yeah, she loves it to pieces, all right.
I love the city so much. And I think it needs a fighter.
That's a cliche if I've ever heard one.
I'm telling you, I don't think she's thought any of this through at all. She's being caught flat-footed with questions that are pretty basic.
And I think I've demonstrated that I can be that fighter. And I hope that the residents of Los Angeles will see that and cast their votes for me.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
So there you go. Nithya Raman running for LA mayor.
As pathetic as it sounds, given the condition of this city, the biggest threat to Karen Bass is probably from a socialist candidate exactly like this. Let's go to Morris in North Hollywood. Morris, hello.
It's Nithya Raman or Karen Bass. It's the same old garbage. It's all democratic socialism. And as a taxpayer and a homeowner, you see nothing and you get nothing. And it's just out of control. I think Karen Bass is going to keep her seat again because it's the people over in South LA is going to vote for her and they're going to support her. And they're going to get out the vote for all the people that are on social services and receiving benefit from the government, all kind of taxes. Tax programs is being paid for their welfare. And what they need to do is get these people on social service, get out there and work for their keep. I'm sure there's something they can do, work 20 hours a week or do something to pay for some of this. And why even go out to the poll and vote? I don't know why. I don't know what it proves to go to the poll and vote. It's the same old piece of garbage. So we just have to wait and see. They have, 40 people running? And I hope she loses and Nithya Raman lose, but that's not going to happen. That's why Rick Caruso backed out. He knew he couldn't win, all right, because the people aren't going to vote for him. The people who live in Pacific Palisades are not going to get out and vote. They're not. So it's going to be the people on, like I said, social services. They're going to get out and vote, and she's going to get reelected, Karen Bass. I'm 99% sure. I'd like to see a change, but it's not going to happen. It's the same old crap. Take care.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. So that's what's going on in the city of Los Angeles. That news, of course, broke over the weekend. And Randy, in Northern California, voters and taxpayers are having the proverbial gun put to their head by mass transit, saying if they don't fork over more money, they're not going to be able to ride public transit.
BART put out a report over the weekend saying that if they don't get this 5-county transit tax hike, where in San Mateo County, in Contra Costa County, and Alameda County, and Santa Clara County, it'll go up a half cent in the sales tax, and in San Francisco County, it'll go up a whole cent. If they don't get that money, they're going to close up to 15 stations.
Which means public transit will become even more unusable.
For more on this BART report, here's KPIX in the Bay.
Tonight, BART is laying out a worst-case scenario if Bay Area voters don't bail the agency out in November. For the next fiscal year, BART is projecting a budget deficit of $376 million, and that only grows for the following few years. This November, Bay Area voters will weigh in on a potential sales tax hike to limit the damage. BART says if that ballot measure fails, they would have to close up to 15 stations and lay off 1,200 workers in 2027.
How did this agency operate before COVID?
And don't forget, they did the same thing with Sacramento. If you don't give us a bailout, we're going to severely limit our service.
Not everyone is ready to support a voter bailout for BART. One former BART director blames years of waste for this deficit. Ardal Lin looks at both sides of the bailout debate for BART.
Critics of the tax measure call BART's report a scare tactic, while others say it's educational, letting people know how bad things could get if voters don't pay up. BART passengers say closing up to 15 stations would be devastating. Tens of thousands of people rely on BART every day, including daily rider Stephen Valadez, who takes BART from his home in Antioch to his job at a restaurant in Orinda.
Before the pandemic, there was definitely more. Sometimes you wouldn't even be able to sit. Now I never have a problem finding a seat.
BART says ridership is down more than 50% compared to pre-pandemic levels in 2019.
And sure, you could blame some of that on the lockdowns and remote work, but you could also blame a lot of it on what BART and the other transit agencies let happen to their trains during COVID.
They allowed people to ride the train without paying the fee. And of course, when you allow that to happen, you bring on the worst elements of society. You bring on criminals. You bring on people who mistreat women. You bring on a lot of drug addicts. You bring on people who don't bathe and have zero sanitation at all. And of course, normal people won't want to use those trains if you're going to have to sit next to someone who's going to the bathroom, or you're going to have to sit next to someone who's causing you a hard time or who might rob you.
Remote work means fewer trips into San Francisco. BART says it depended on fares to run service more than almost any other transit agency in the world.
Many BART riders are back, and that's great, but they're only taking BART a few days a week, and that has had a huge impact on our bottom line.
BART spokesperson Alicia Tro says without a voter bailout, they would close 10 stations in January 2027. Here's a map of the stations that would shut down. The system would also close earlier at 9 p.m. instead of midnight, and riders would see longer wait times. If more cuts are needed, BART would...
So the way to get us out of this is we're going to make it even less appealable.
Right. So if you're going out to dinner and you want to ride the train so you don't have to drive drunk, you can't do that anymore because it shuts off at 9.
If more...
By the way, interesting financials came out of BART this week. Now that they installed the fare gates at every single station, revenue is up $10 million.
You don't say.
If more cuts are needed, BART would close 5 more stations in July 2027. Altogether, they would have to lay off about 1,200 workers.
And I think the most dramatic here is the blue line is just completely eliminated. And that would basically look like what BART ran from 1976 to 1994.
Stephen says the cuts would be life-altering, closing the 2 stations he relies on. He doesn't own a car.
For me, it would be horrible. I would have to pretty much find a new job because I wouldn't know how to do that commute anymore.
BART is hoping voters will pass a regional sales tax increase in November, a 0.5% hike for Alameda, Contra Costa, San Mateo, and Santa Clara counties.
There's going to be so many tax hikes on the ballot in 2026. So many.
I wish, and Prop 13 is a great proposition that has protected taxpayers in California for decades. But I wish there was some sort of mechanism as part of Prop 13 where before you can go to taxpayers and before you can ask for more money, whether it be from a tax increase or a bond, whatever, you have to agree to an audit where we can verify that there's no waste, fraud, and abuse. Because we know, hearing from people who call in who work for that agency, hearing from people who call in who use those trains, we know what kind of fraud is going on. We know how much it costs us because they don't crack down on people who steal the copper wire and knock the system offline. You need to fix all of that before you go to the people and you ask for more money, because those problems will still be there even if you get your tax increase.
And a 1% hike in San Francisco.
I am a solid no on this measure.
Former BART board director Deborah Allen blames irresponsible spending for the budget deficit, saying BART should have never expanded service hours or added more trains after COVID as ridership was declining.
It is a scare tactic. It is what I call Armageddon. I think to vote yes on this tax measure, you are voting yes on more of the same wasteful, abusive, and even, yes, sometimes there is fraud too.
Stephen says he doesn't see much of
fraud in BART? You don't say.
Hard to believe.
And by the way, the latest troubles with BART are all its own doing. Forget COVID, forget the homelessness. The system got shut down so many times last year because they cheaped out on cleaning the tunnels for dust.
That's on them.
Stephen says he doesn't see much of an option for him when it comes to the tax measure.
Whatever we got to do, I mean, I'm willing to do it because I cannot risk losing my station here and losing my station at Antioch.
Transportation officials say the closures would also affect drivers because it would push more people onto the freeways.
The other transit agencies involved in this ballot measure are all facing steep deficits of their own for the next fiscal year. SFMTA's shortfall rivals BART's $307 million. AC Transit is over $73 million. For Caltrain, it's $75 million. Caltrain says without the transit tax, it would close more than a third of its stations and limit service to once per hour. So you may recall last week, Governor Newsom approved a nearly $600 million loan for those agencies, plus BART. That money would help bridge the gap until the ballot measure funding rolls in July of 2027.
That's right. They're not tightening their belts. They are not cutting down their budgets or trying to eliminate all the bloat, which can be in a lot of administrative salaries. What they did was they got Gavin to give them a loan. And if they don't have the funding from this sales tax increase, they're not going to be able to pay back that loan, which is why they're going to close all the stations.
So Gavin gave them a bridge loan, but wants to get credit for a bailout.
But that loan is still not enough to cover the short-term deficits.
So that's the latest that's going on with the potential transit tax bailout that's going to be on the November ballot.
What a complete mess. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Here's one about BART. Well, closing stations like the Lafayette station would definitely cut down on the robberies. Oh, and I got to put this one in. Al from the Port of Oakland writes in, I have no idea who Nithya Raman is, but she sounded as befuddled as a college girl caught outside a bar after midnight by a YouTuber asking basic American history or geography questions for cash. Now, that absolutely was just a tease. Give me a real baby Shangy, I like that. Oh, you got it, buddy.
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
Let's go to Paul in San Francisco. Paul, hello.
Yes, as you probably remember, I'm a retired muni operator. I'm voted against that tax. It's regressive. And also, the muni doesn't collect anywhere near what they should collect from fares. Because of backdoor boarding, people don't pay. There's virtually no control of anything on the buses. And the city squanders millions of money on other programs, and there should be no deficit whatsoever in a $15 billion, whatever it is, budget. It's ridiculous.
What does the training tell you to do as a driver? If someone doesn't pay the fare, what's the official position?
Well, it's different now. The official position used to ask them to pay the fare. Now they put a plexiglass thing around you so you won't get attacked. There's no security anywhere. So the community is afraid of the operators being attacked by the messed up bums that oftentimes get on the bus with their dogs with no muzzle. So they don't, right now, I don't think they want you to do anything. So virtually it's free for all. You can virtually do anything you want, including not paying the fare.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Linda in the East Bay. Linda, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Love your show. I learned a lot from you guys. I really appreciate the knowledge. About BART, I live by Bayfair BART station, and these trains run 24/7, full trains, and I don't understand that. I know people that work for BART that actually have a high position, and they make a lot of money. They really do. They're not, they're not taking care of the station. They're not taking care of the people that ride BART. I mean, I stopped taking BART because people, it's not safe. It really is not safe. But in the meantime, I remember shooting in my area where some guy came in from Oakland and just randomly shot off a 38 in the air and then got back on BART and just went home. Finally, I love the Alameda County Sheriff's Department. They caught him. They really did. But how safe is BART if you're able to take a gun on there?
How do you plan on voting on this?
I'm going to vote no. They really don't deserve it. They pay so much money into the board and everything else, and they're not doing anything to improve. Plus that, when they opened the Castro Valley BART station, because I lived here when they opened that, the crime rate around that BART station went up quite a bit. People just come in from other areas. They rob homes. They victimize people. They get back on BART like, okay, nobody's going to see me because I'm not driving. And BART doesn't do anything to actually stop this. I mean, I understand you cannot screen everybody, but I know people that jump the gates all the time. Do I like it? No, you're stealing, basically. And now I have to pay for it? I don't think so. I'm not going to vote for them. It's no to me.
All right. Thank you for the call. And Randy, if that sentiment is widespread, this thing could go down.
And that means BART's going to fulfill their promise of closing 15 stations next year or figure out a different bailout from the legislature.